Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
It is 2026 when you're listening to this, or after,
Or
sometime in the future. It won't be in 2025 because we are recording this on the very last day of
Mhm.
2025. And
Yes.
we thought we'd come in with something fresh. We have a lot of back recorded content, some really good stuff for you all that's going to be coming out. As you all saw, we took a nice little sweet break over the holidays. I don't know if we call it a break, but we stepped back from podcast production. And we thought we would start with something relevant and present for the new year. Because I always like sometimes something that's like in the moment and connecting when I'm listening to podcasts.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat and it's interesting to just sit here and be with you and think where we've come. Like even
Yeah.
just this year and kind of in the whole span of our podcasting too.
This year has been an interesting year. I'm not going to say it's been horrible, but it's been a ride. It's been interesting. I almost don't have words for it, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people feel that way.
So there's a few places we wanted to go with this, but I think, I don't know, like maybe we could do our personal check-ins first and then bring it out a little bit more broader to just some thoughts we have for others around going into New Year in general and ways to approach it, our thought process around that, and also just relevant to 2025 into 2026.
Yes, yes.
Uh,
Yeah, I definitely feel just to go back into 2025, towards the end, I read that we were in the snake year, which I'm sure I knew ahead of time, but just didn't really think about it. And they talk about like shedding. And I think that really fits in a term of a word for 2025, a lot of shedding. And really what I mean by that is like shedding of the self, right? Like aspects, old versions of ourselves, maybe parts of ourselves that we didn't even know we had, that we are just acknowledging like that new skin, so to speak, or old skin that we want to shut off that's always been there and just never recognized. It's interesting just sitting here because before we hopped on, I'm like doing a bunch of stuff around the house. Not necessarily for the new year, but just set up for like, hey, now I can get some affairs in order that I've been putting back. And maybe that's just my own energetic timing.
I've been feeling that 100% this year. So we have all our Christmas stuff put away. So fucking good. Like our tree is out. I was like, this shit is done. It was ready.
I love
Yeah.
to see the tree lit up at night, so that's my thing. And that's the last thing to go, but that'll be taken down the next few days. But everything else
Yes.
is off.
Usually for us, it's an after New Year's thing. And I just hit the weekend after Christmas and I'm like, I'm fucking done. It felt like New Year's already. The
Right.
holidays are behind us. This has been a wild ride of a year. And then the end, the last 2 months for me was
Yeah.
insanely, I don't know. I felt like I was in a washing machine of a lot of shit going on. And so, yeah, to just have that done and closed. And I think this is a good point. Every year is a very different energy to go into it. We usually do an intention setting or a reflection thing. We've been doing it for 3 or 4 years. And
Mhm.
this year we did it, but separate. We didn't hold it as a space in a group. And I remember last year being like, I just don't give two fucks. Some years I'm like really want to close out the year and give a lot of intention. And last year I just did not care one bit. I don't know. There was just something within me. There was no spark. It felt like it was just like this continuous just flow. It wasn't bad. It was just this flow that didn't need a punctuation on it. And then this year, it's similar but different. Of I wanted to take time to reflect. I felt like reflection was important. But I don't know about you, but going into this year, there's no really solid goals I have. I think you're in a different space. I don't really have solid goals or intentions, yes, but they're very loose and soft and very undefined. I've actually been reflecting on that a little bit, but I'm curious to hear where you're at with that first.
It's interesting because I've actually this year has been a lot harder for me to actually sit down and think about them. I've kind of brainstormed a little bit, but nothing's really solidified. And generally, I'm all about my planner and looking it over. And I get a planner for the year. I don't really use it for the
Do
day
you do the paper
necessarily.
planner?
I'm a paper planner
Yeah.
person because I have a journal, like an electronic journal too.
Hmm.
But for these ones, I like little notes or stickers or little things that like come up, I like to include in there too, or sayings that meant a lot. Something that I can look back on really quickly and it's not like paragraphs of my thoughts for 5 hours. But yeah, haven't really had the motivation to do that, but I've been wanting to. Mentally, I know I want to and I want to sit down to do it, but it just hasn't really felt like the flow's there yet. And I know it will come. So I hear what you say on that. In terms of goals, definitely have some personal goals for my business. And then also I'm wanting to come up with goals with my partner. And that's been fun to think about because we're actually looking at more personal goals instead
Hmm.
of setting goals. So we'll see how that
What
goes.
do you mean by that?
More like we want to have better communication, or one of the ones that came up was be more intimate in our feelings instead of saying we're fine when we're not, just being like, I don't know right now and I don't want to talk about it, or let me think about it, or I'm just angry, whatever is coming up, but also just not brushing it off like I'm fine. And in this essence, not really telling the truth, right? We're not okay, but maybe we're not okay because we're saying fine because we don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. I think this leads in perfect to things we were talking about as far as sharing tips or ideas with others. First of all, I did want to also mention, because I think we have it and it's a really great tool. We have this intention setting workbook and meditation. And I think intention setting is good. I personally am not a goal person because with me, intention always comes back to how do you want to feel? Like
Hmm.
that's a core thing. Like how do we want to feel in this relationship? We want to feel heard and seen or whatever it is, like really connected. Intentions get to that more
Hmm.
than like a goal. They can overlap. And I know sometimes words are words and we're just nuancing how people relate to words like goal or intention, right? So
Right.
use whatever is going to work for you, but check out our intention setting workbook if you haven't. And then the reconnection with your partner. If you're a parent or if you're not a parent, it doesn't matter. The last couple months of the year are so outward focused and there's so much going on that normally, especially if you have kids, there's a lot of other things thrown in there. It's really hard to give that extra space and time. And things just tend to quiet down at the beginning of the year. And it's a really good time to just like take a breath with your partner and recalibrating. It's really awesome. You know, they say, okay, it's just another day, right? When we enter into a new year, even though none of us fucking feel that way because that's not what our culture has trained us to feel. But it's a good time to be like, okay, let's make a little space for each other and let's set this year off with an energy that we both want to be in and where do we want to go together. I can link it to Lori Harder has a Power Partner Playbook. It literally is just going through what are your goals? What are my goals? What are our like goals together? How are
Mhm.
we like supporting each other? Because it is, especially as parents, super important to remember your individual goals need to be shared because if they're not shared, then you can't support each other in reaching them. And to support each other reaching them, that is part of your partnership, right? And it actually makes your partnership stronger. I'll link
100%.
to that too in the episode show notes and I'll send it to you, Jen, in case you want to take a peek. I know you're full end of the week ahead. You're probably going to spend all of today's New Year's Eve. You're probably going to spend the whole New Year's Eve just journaling. So
Yeah, I have some house stuff I want to get done. I like to move in the morning, but that's the goal is like get that stuff going
I'm going to be
too.
doing breath work this afternoon. So yeah,
Exciting.
I'm stoked on that.
I think the other thing too that I really like about the end of the year is like just checking in about what we want
Mhm.
because especially with the partner, it's good. You get into the year and you're just kind of going, going, going. And it's like a nice time, especially after the new year, slow down and really ask what you want. It's interesting because we started doing that and we kind of realized, well, what is it that we want together and what is it that we want separately? And it's amazing sometimes how it's actually hard to express out what we want or even know sometimes. And yeah.
I like that point because I was going to say sometimes we don't know what we want or we can feel stuck because that's one of the things with this goal setting. Sometimes you feel like you should have goals, right? Because there's the two sides of it. There's reflection and then intention, reflection and intention. And maybe you're in a phase of your life where things are really good and it's okay to stop and just enjoy that and be like, thank you, yes, more please, and thank you, yes, more please. I don't know where this is going to go or what that's going to bring. And I don't have clarity around that, but things feel really good. And I want this plus more, right? Expand
Mhm.
into this. I feel that going into this year, business is always a big one, right? Where do we want to go in business? Or if you own your own business, where is the expansion? Because of course we can have this is the revenue goal I want, whatever.
Right,
I
right.
want to expand my team by two more people and this and that. But I'm like, how is that going to look? And my meditation, what came through to me, like literally, it was my job is to be in alignment and have fun. My job is to respond to what feels fun. And if nothing's feeling fun, then just continue to do things to put myself in alignment.
Mhm.
And that in itself, I think, is right now my intention, right? Is to just be in alignment and have fun and allow magic to come from there because that's what works for me at least best. I think it's important what you highlighted as we don't always have to have these clearly defined intentions or goals. And if you don't, again, tapping into like the feeling, like how do I want to feel? And sitting in meditation sometimes helps or whatever you need to do, but knowing that the goal can just be self-care. I want to feel like really nurtured and full, or like resourced was one of my words going into this year, things like that. And then not being the one to solve the problem, allowing
Yes, yes.
allowing it to come to you in ways that you might not even expect. So,
Right.
uh,
And it's fun. I was thinking about that too, because each year on the 21st or the solstice, right, you talked about writing out 12 things that we want and then burning one till the end of the year. And I love that. And I think that's what I'm most looking forward to, reflecting back, like what I wanted, the wishes, and then to see if they came true. Because even in the past, when I've looked back, they came true more in the sense of like the feeling that I was after, more so than the actual, this is what I want, right?
yeah,
So,
and just to kind of like preface what this is, and we'll link to it too. You write out 13 wishes actually, and you start on the 21st usually, and you write them out and you cut them into strips of paper and you fold them up and put them in a bowl or a jar. And then every night from the 21st all the way to, I think it's the second. So for the 12 nights, you're burning one every night starting on the 21st. And you don't look at it, you just pull it out and you burn it. And then the last one is the one like you're responsible for. And then all the rest are, so take a picture of them all before you start burning them.
my
Um,
planner.
yeah, and then the last one's the one that like you like out of all these things you want. So you kind of have to make them like somewhat reasonable because you might land on any of them, but that's the one you're responsible for, and the rest you surrender to the universe. And on that note, I think what's interesting, I don't know how long you've been doing it for. For me, what was fascinating to look back on it is it might not happen the year, right? But I
Mhm.
look back 5 years and I've hit like almost everything, right? Everything I've wanted in 5 years ago, like for sure, probably most of it's there and plus some. That also plays into this. Time isn't linear. We have these things that I think are checkpoints for us to remember to do these things, to check in with ourselves and whatnot, but we shouldn't put so much pressure on ourselves. As a parent, like I was actually discussing with my friend yesterday who was a parent, which we've talked about before, it's like you have the rest of your life to work and you only have your kids for so long. And just because it doesn't get done this year doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Maybe this year, what was supposed to happen was your family needed you more, or
Mhm.
your body and your health needed you more, whatever it is. The year's going to throw at you whatever it's going to throw at you. And I shared some journaling prompts I thought were really good with you
Yeah,
that
good.
were a little bit more of where did I show up this year that I felt good about? What do I want to carry forward? Again, we'll include all of this in the show notes, just as helpful little tools that you can pull from if you are wanting to do some reflection and whatnot. And they're going back to doing it with your partner. If you're a parent, they're a great way to connect with your partner, even if you're just like talking about them in the car on a drive home or something.
Yeah. For me, I also do this kind of around my birthday too, personally, just because it's like a new year for me, right?
With solar
New Year's.
returns.
Yeah, it's solar return. There's no really wrong or right time to do this. And if you're being called to do it, it's just good at some point, at some regular frequency to check in. And circle back a little bit with the pulling out your wishes and giving the universe to them. One thing I really appreciate about that as well is being okay that things change. Yeah, I wanted that in the beginning of the year. And then, like, looking back, actually, I'm okay. I'm happy with the way things are. What I desired changed. And I think there's a lot to be said about that too, because people feel if they write it out, they have to be attached to it. But even if you're going along, you're like, actually, it's not for me. That's okay too. It's the whole point of the doing it, right? It's the
Yeah.
reflection. Yeah. So it's good.
Well, really quickly to close out, just to be more specific, we started a little bit talking about like the astrology or like the Chinese astrology of this being the year of the snake. It was the earth snake. So even more like
Yeah.
shedding, composting,
Right.
returning to the soil. And it was a 9 for numerology and ending year, closing year. And so there's energetically in these spaces and places, you will hear 2026 is going to be a year of movement, new beginnings, a lot of things like that. So if you don't know, yeah, Fire Horse is where we're going. Everyone's excited for this, but I just want to say, I want to preface, like, buckle the fuck up. I always tell people, like, have you ridden a horse without a saddle while it's galloping? And then imagine like lighting that shit on fire. That's where we're going, people. So yeah, make sure you're on the horse. It's a lot about like you need to, if you can imagine that. I don't know if you've like a horse,
I
bareback ridden
haven't
a
barebacked, but
horse,
I've ridden with
a
a saddle.
saddle. Yeah.
And bareback's a whole other
It's
that's
a
yeah.
whole other thing, but I
Yeah.
feel like that if you think about that, it's more where I'm wanting to go with like how you really have to really tune your body in with the movement that's happening if you want to stay on the horse.
With the horse, right? You got to really embrace the horse in a way that holds you and the horse, right? And go with
Exactly.
the flow.
So yeah,
Yeah.
take that as a metaphor for where we're going into this year.
And light that
Embrace
shit on fire and go.
with the movement of the horse and then yeah, imagine it being on fire and ride that baby like a Cirque du Soleil performer into the year. But on that note, that's where the whole year is going. Chinese New Year isn't till early February, so we've got some time, but it's interesting because like astrology really for everyone right now is a lot about turning inward and self-care. There's a lot of planetary movements that are really supportive of that and cultivating self-care. And I feel like it's interesting because given the Chinese astrology is going into the year of the fire horse, and that actually happens in February, we have this month of January going into
Mhm.
this new year, and it's like fucking resource yourself, like really pour into you. Because the more you can do that, the easier I think that's going to be like preparing you for what's to come. So,
Mhm.
all the more permission for anyone listening to take the time, take the space, do what's going to work for you. Like, we're not telling you to go do some reflective journal practice. We're not telling you to go do XYZ, although do our intention setting workbook and meditation because it's really good.
Yeah. And if you don't send that to 10 people, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, do it, share it. No, do it. Like, and let us know your intentions. I always love to hear people's intentions, and I'm sharing it with some friends. But yeah, if you're listening to this in January, I encourage you to do what feels good for you to really resource and nourish yourself.
Mhm.
That's as and create that space when you can. The holidays are over. We're in the new year. Take this month to really ground and root because the more you can do that for yourself, it's going to set yourself and everyone around you and your community and your world up for a better outcome.
Yeah, yeah. The other thing too that was really helpful sometimes in like these journaling prompts, especially with intention setting, is sometimes just think about it and then write. And even if it doesn't make sense in the moment, again, you can go back and change it. Nothing's set in stone. But don't get hung up on like a question, right? Just like whatever comes out, even if it's random, just not overthinking it and putting it out there really just starts to open things up and then flow. And you can always go back and re-put your answer in. It's especially important if we are short on time to give myself 15 minutes. And then if we sit down, I can't think of anything that I want or whatever, then just put the first thing that comes to mind and move on to the next question. And then if you think later, hey, yeah, I should do this, then go back and change it. But if we only have a certain amount of time, sometimes it's just about doing it and with good intention, right? Like I do intend to do this to the best of my ability, but not get hung up on the perfectionism of it.
Yeah. Yeah. The nice thing I got to say like about this workbook we made is it really does walk you through. It starts with how do we want to feel? Because that's an
Mhm.
easy one. We can tap into how we want to feel if we don't
Yeah.
know how to get there. And then that kind of guides us into setting an intention around that or like working backwards from that. And then yeah, like the morning pages approach of just let that hand flow, baby. Just let it go. Whatever, even if it's like the morning pages approach, if you're writing like, I don't know what I want, I don't know what I want. I want a cup of tea. I want, yeah, start small, build on it. But just like keeping the hand flowing because you're only gonna want to write, I don't know what I want so many
So
times
many times.
before your brain's
So
like, no,
true.
you do know what you want. Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes the other trick I heard too, if you don't know what you want, is to actually write about what you don't want. I don't want this. Like, I don't
Mhm.
want to
Yeah.
be, I don't know, single or whatever. Relationships are always big ones, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, so what do you want? Oh, I want a relationship. Okay, well, then you
Yeah.
can like, go further from there. So, which is
Realizing what you don't want is a great way to get clear on what you do
what
want.
you do want, yes.
Awesome. Any other final words moving
I don't think
into?
so. Just I'd say if I had any advice, just set around 15 minutes at least to give yourself time to reflect and do what you feel is right for you in that moment, and then just let it go. Because sometimes the hardest part is just showing up, taking the time and just showing up. So just set it, show up, and just trust what happens and comes out. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love
I,
that. I think we covered a lot. And yeah, I just want to wish everyone amazing 2026 ahead. And our intention is just to keep showing up on this podcast, at least for
yes.
now. Who knows?
And if you have any intentions or goals that you want to share, please let us know. Sometimes it's good to keep them, and sometimes it feels right to share because we can also help encourage you and give you, like, yeah, go for it, right?
Yeah.
So, whatever feels right for you.
Sharing them is a really beautiful practice just because it is energetically putting them out there into other people's realities, right? And it's not just your reality anymore, it's part of the bigger collective reality when you have your intention out there. So with
Yeah.
others.
especially in a supportive environment like ours.
Yes. Yeah. Awesome. All right. We
Have a
will
good new
see you
year.
soon. Yeah.